Alrighty, let's start the year strong with a couple of things. First off, this is a bit of a different camera angle for my main camera, and that's only because we're going to be doing a different kind of video. This video is less of a gameplay video. This is more just going to be a talky talk video. And the reason why is because I want to float an idea that is probably going to be very beneficial for the state of Railjack. Because while there are some problems about Railjack that, again, I don't necessarily agree with at all, there are problems with Railjack that I think are very much true to just the very core experience of the game. So, let's get into it. Right now, we have a problem with reactors. The main advantage of each reactor seems to be purely on numbers, but the problem with that is that it doesn't really work in the favor of each one in an equal but different way. So, for example, we have our Vida and we have our Lavin reactors. These ones are prominent in the sense that their advantages of having sort of mid to high amounts of avionics capacity is really good. But then we also have Zekti reactors, where their advantage is to have really high flux capacity. Now, I've talked about this in a previous video. I believe it was actually my Catherine Gaza full rundown video. Point is, having really high flux capacity, but at the detriment of having next to no avionics capacity, that is just simply meaningless. So basically, the advantage of the Zekti reactor doesn't make any difference, whereas the problem of Zekti reactors being that they have really low avionics capacity, up to 50, is really bad. And to make it even worse, we also have Sigma reactors that you can just straight up build from your clan research that automatically have more avionics capacity than your Zekti reactors. So the idea to fix this would be harmonious reactors. Harmonious reactors would halve the drain of any avionic installed onto the grid if it happens to be from the same house as that reactor. So it's essentially polarities. You put a former onto your WarFrame, and then that slot will halve the drain of any mod that is on that slot if it happens to have the same polarity. Reactors are going to be different. The main difference between reactor and former is that if you happen to put an avionic that is not from the same house, you will not get penalized. I don't think it's a good idea, in Railjack at least, to penalize people for using an avionic that does not fit with the same house. I think that should be fine as it is, where you use 100% of the drain. But if you have the right avionic, then perhaps you get to choose if you want to halve the drain. By doing this, I reckon this would fix a couple of problems that I see in the avionics and reactor system, which is, number one, we get to allow each reactor to have its own place and flavor. So for example, we could potentially make Zekti reactors at least somewhat useful for people who don't really care about battle and tactical avionics. Personally, I would ask them why, but if you don't really care about those abilities, then okay, fine. Your Zekti reactor can at least make you a lot more powerful in the passive area for things like hull and damage, for example. And then we could also have each avionic have its own place and flavor, because right now it turns out there are two Hyperstrike avionics that kind of clash with each other in a really stupid way. We have the Vida Hyperstrike and we have the Zekti Hyperstrike. Guess what? Both of them have a 13 drain on your avionics grid. Why would I bother using Vida Hyperstrike when Zekti Hyperstrike uses the exact same drain but has about 20% more damage over that plus 101.2% that Vida Hyperstrike has? There's no point using the Vida one at the moment. You might as well just use the Zekti one. The only way you would choose to use the Vida one is if you were trying to buy it from the WarFrame market, because obviously the Zekti one would be a lot more expensive. Alrighty, so before we continue with this idea, there's also another thing that I think should be fixed, and that is the RNG problem that a lot of people have brought up about those reactors. Now, this is my personal opinion. I don't think the fact that there is RNG is necessarily a problem. The main problem with this is that the range of values is just simply way too far. At the moment, we have the Vida Reactor Mark III that ranges from plus 30 to plus 100. Now, I apparently got super lucky and got a plus 94, but there are people on Reddit who just show their Vida Reactor Mark IIIs, these things that they've apparently taken a very long time to get, and it only has plus 30. That is a terrible idea, to have that RNG range be so wide that you could potentially even just get a basic bitch Zekti Mark III and it would be better than your absurd god tier Vida Mark III. So I don't think that is a good idea at all. So we should narrow those ranges. I propose maybe, and you could potentially yell at me about this and say, oh no, that's a terrible idea as well. Zecti Reactor Mark III should just range between 40 and 50 avionics cap, Lavin Reactor Mark III should just range between 60 and 70 avionics cap, and Vita Reactor Mark III should only range between 90 and 100 avionics cap. Also, when it comes to the flux ranges, they can remain the same. I couldn't really care less. Here we have a spreadsheet of some of the most likely to be used avionics, at least in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure. You might be more inclined to use something else. So just go check it out. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but there's your ideas. So I've theorized a couple of builds, and hopefully this gives a rough idea of what we're trying to achieve using harmonized reactors. So let's start off with the Lavin Reactor. Lavin Reactor, like I said, would probably end up with 60 to 70 capacity, which will give you a total of 90 to 100 capacity. Remember, you have 30 capacity at base. With this, we can fit a full rack of battle and tactical avionics, no problem. It's always going to be 24 for the battle avionics because it's going to be 6, 8, and 10, and then we're going to have between 24 and 33 for the tactical avionics, which is basically 3 of 8 drain or up to 1 13 drain from flow burn, and then 2 10 drain from 2 others. So the total drain is somewhere between 48 and 57. Okay, and the remaining drain from that would be somewhere between 33 and 52. Okay, cool. With the Lavin Reactor, we can then focus a lot on speed because the 2 speed avionics for Railjack have their strongest form from the Lavin house. So that is Conic Nozzle and Ion Burn. Right now, as you can see here, they're both taking 7 drain because they have been halved. So that's really, really good. That is the fastest we could potentially get from these 2 avionics. But we're also going to be using Vidar Wing Cyclone, which is not a Lavin mod, so that still takes 100% of its 6 drain. Afterwards, we have around about 23 drain left. We can then play around with the other stuff. We can potentially use just Lavin Hyperflux, Lavin Polar Coil, and Lavin Warhead. These are actually the worst of their kind, but as they are Lavin avionics, they will take half the drain, so we can at least fit them, so that's pretty good. Because we're using the worst ones, we can then choose to use something like Zecti Hyperstrike and just go whole ham on that kind of thing. Or alternatively, we could use Zecti Bulkhead. You could fit that in as well, because as you see, we have 4 avionics capacity left on this mock-up, which is enough to choose to use Zecti Bulkhead instead of Zecti Hyperstrike if you really want to. So with the Lavin Reactor, whilst you might have a pretty average Seeker missile, for example, and you might have a really good turret or you might have a really good hull, you at the very least can just about guarantee that you're going to have a lot of speed. So that's potentially playing to a playstyle like mine. If you were to get a Vidar Reactor, which will have somewhere between 90 and 100 capacity, that one is probably still going to be the best for those who want to use a lot of things, like myself. So here is a mock-up of a Vidar Reactor if we were to use this harmonized reactor idea. This is essentially my build, but better, because I can fit other things in it, so that's really, really good. First off, we will be using Vidar Bulkhead and Vidar Hyperflux, so I get even more health, but it is not as strong as Zecti Hyperflux, Zecti Bulkhead. So we're not going to be seeing that 6,000 health, we're only going to be seeing 3,000 health. For me personally, I can also save some drain on forward artillery, Warhead, and Wing Cyclone, so that's why I'm using the Vidar versions. Again, they're not as strong as the Zecti versions as well, so if you want to use the Zecti versions, you'll probably want to figure out the math on that, but I will be talking about that a little bit afterwards. With the drain left, I can also choose to use Vidar Hyperstrike. Now, remember what I said previously? Why would I use Vidar Hyperstrike if I had the option to use Zecti Hyperstrike and not waste a single drain? Now I could potentially choose to use Vidar Hyperstrike and just save 6 whole drain while simply compromising on 20% turret damage over 101.2%, because then that's a real choice that I can make. Right now, there's no choice. But now, do I use a 7 drain and only do 101.2% damage, or do I use a 13 drain and do 120% damage? It's a bit of a thought, yeah? In this mock-up, I could probably fit Zecti Hyperstrike anyway, so I guess that's pretty meaningless. But essentially, I could choose to use that 7 drain on something else. I could choose to use it and change one of my tacticals to Flow Burn. I could get rid of fire suppression and still fit Flow Burn, and that's perfectly fine. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping a harmonized reactor would trigger. That's hopefully the kind of thought process that you would do. But essentially the result of a build like this would basically be a stronger, but not the strongest, laser cannon, a stronger, but not the strongest seeker missile, either super strong turrets with a decent hull, or even potentially a super strong hull with pretty damn powerful turrets. It's entirely up to you how you want to build it. We're still probably able to make a really fast ship, and we have plenty of active abilities to go, and that is of course because we have a reactor that gives us 90 to 100 capacity, so that's obviously going to be pretty damn good. And then finally we have the Zekti reactor, and I get so many goddamn Zekti reactors, but I scrap them every single time. So with a harmonized Zekti reactor, the goal is to make them at least somewhat useful and maybe cater to a specific playset, which could be something like this, a very super powered passive playstyle, which granted I do have 2 battle and 2 tactical avionics on this mock-up, but that's just because I don't want to get rid of them. But if you are that super passive player, you could just get rid of those and you could really think for yourself, what other integrated avionics do I want to put into this build? So here we have Zekti Bulkhead, Zekti Hyperstrike, Zekti Polar Coil, Zekti Forward Artillery, Zekti Wing Steel, Zekti Warhead. All of these really powerful Zekti avionics. Easy! We can fit it into a Zekti reactor, ladies and gentlemen. That's the goal. If this appeals to you, voila! There's your reactor. Go nuts, you know? As a result, you'd have a super strong laser cannon, you'd have super strong ordnances, i.e. your seeker missiles, you'd have super strong turrets, in fact. You might have a potentially fast ship if you get rid of a couple of the battle and tacticals and fit in some of the speed mods if you want. And you might have maybe a couple of active abilities ready to go. But that's the idea with the Zekti reactor. Compromising on active abilities for passive power. If that works for you, great. It won't work for me personally because I don't think I'm going to like that at all, but I could see some people really enjoying that kind of playstyle if they want. So that may very well be the power of harmonious reactors. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. If you have a particularly strong opinion about those mockups, feel free to leave it in the comments, but honestly, they're just thoughts that came out of the top of my head, so if you would build something totally different, feel free to leave it in the comments. Otherwise, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more WarFrame content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!